Good afternoon and welcome to today's Hangout on Air. My name is Nick Strong and I'm the Managing Director of Franchise Intelligence. At Franchise Intelligence, our focus is to work with franchisors to help them build revenue streams. And our focus today is on social media and how to do that. And very specifically, we're looking at growth of franchisee sales and how the heck can I do that through social media. So my guests here, in order to get to the bottom of that and get those questions answered, are Richard Dancy of Barking Mad and Franchise Intelligence, who is our chief expert for the day, and Anna Neville of Kids Lingo. And we're going to be finding out what they're doing with social media and how they're working with franchisees to help them grow sales on the local level. So welcome both of you and thank you for joining me today. First of all, Richard, let's start off with some basics. The first question that I'd like to have you answer, please, is what is social media and how does it work?
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. Hi, Nick, and hello, everybody. Yes. I think, basically social media is what it says. So it's about, it's a platform to be sociable, to interact, to comment, to talk, to share with people. And the media is online. It's all the different sites that we're used to, but actually it could be anything on the internet. But most of all, we think about Twitter, we think about Facebook, and there are new ones coming online. But things like LinkedIn. It's about using the internet to interact with audiences. And more recently in business, it has become an important way of talking directly to your customers, and for your customers talking directly to the brands that they interact with. So social networking is what you do with social media. So social networking is talking to your customers and your customers talking to the brands and the companies they use. So for example, at Barking Mad, we have people who are constantly contacting us. They used to contact us on the phone, then they used to contact us via email. Now they still do those two things, but they also contact us on Twitter and on Facebook and generally get involved that way. Just my last point would be that maybe a few years ago it was all about people were, I don't know if you can hear that dog in the background, sorry about that. That's
it sounds Barking Mad.
We're at Barking Mad here, so sorry, the dog's barking. So Facebook used to be annoyance to a lot of people in business, and they used to think it was a load of faff, or social media in general. People saying what they wanted for breakfast, as it's what they had for breakfast is not of any interest to me. However, I think the business world and the franchise world has now woken up to the fact that it's a really important business tool. So it's something that your franchisees need to use to interact with their customers, whether they're B2C or B2B, and it's something that franchisors need to use to interact with their franchisees and their franchisees' customers and get the brand across. So it's something that we, Franchise Intelligence, are talking to a lot of people in the franchise industry about.
Okay, well, thank you for that introduction. For anyone who's watching, in the top right-hand side of your screen, you will notice that there's a grid with these 9 blocks on. Should you want to ask a question to have Anna and Richard answer that question today, click on that, download the Q&A app, and ask your question. And if you bring that question in, I will bring it into this program today. So thank you for that. So Anna, thank you for waiting patiently. I'll ask you a few questions in a minute. I'm just going to stay with Richard for the time being, if I may. Richard, the next question. Thinking about social media and the buyer-seller relationship, how is social media and its use changing the pre-sales and, if you like, the upselling or on-selling sales relationship between the buyer and the seller?
Okay, yes. It used to be that in the old days, before the year 2000, before we had email, before we had the internet, that we communicated with our potential franchisees, existing franchisees, potential customers via different media, so magazines, newspapers, events, people coming to see us, exhibitions, things like that. Nowadays, the conversations that we're having are all with people who have already seen us online. So they've already found out quite a lot of information about us, and it's our duty really to be able to put what we term content, which is anything about your brand, anything that you want to communicate to potential franchisees, potential customers, about your business, who you are and what you do. So how that affects the conversation is that often I had someone come to us a few weeks ago who told us they'd seen every single YouTube video that we have, and we have like 200 YouTube videos. So you know, they really knew a lot about us beforehand. So it means that you can have a more in-depth conversation. They are further down the buying process already. They already feel like they know you a bit better. And they may have even been able to interact or ask existing customers on social media sites what they think. So, you know, we use a company called Trustpilot, which gives reviews to anyone who's used our service, and you know, people will be able to use those to inform themselves before they come to talk to us.
Okay, so clearly a way of communicating with would-be clients before you even meet them face-to-face, so giving them far more information about your opportunity, your products, your services. So one challenge to many franchisors is that can increase the fragmentation of managing the whole communication process. One of the things that's easy about advertising historically is that the seller controls the whole process. They control what they say, they control who they say it to, and the magazines, websites, etc. that they actually go through. But now it's a case of sharing that content, so sharing the management of it. So on a practical level, working with franchisees, how do you assist franchisees, for example, in the you know, what to publish and when to publish?
Sure. Well, there's the old adage that traditionally 50% of all advertising, at least 50% of all advertising, is a complete waste of time. It's just you didn't know which 50% it was. Now we can do a lot more to track and understand our audiences on social media, and that is true for franchisors and for franchisees. So the key to helping franchisees gain sales is to make sure that they are interacting and advertising in some cases to the correct audience, the audience they're looking for exactly. So, and that can be, you can help them with that because you know exactly, certainly if it's a new greenfield franchise, you know what the customers are likely to be, you know the profile of the customers, you know where they're likely to be hanging out, you know the kind of questions that they need to ask and the interactions that they want to have with you before they move on to that purchase. So it's all about helping your franchisees with content. Actually, with social media, I say there's 3 stages, and this is important for all franchisees and something that Franchise Intelligence has been talking to Anna about at Kids Lingo and various other franchisors in the UK. Number 1 is setup. So making sure that you have the right setup for your social media channels and that you have the right social media channels for your audience. So some audiences may be on Snapchat, others, Barkimad's audience, for example, they're not on Snapchat, it's not that profile. Making sure that your branding's looking correct and then everything's right in the setup. The second one is making sure that you have the right content. So you are the experts in your field. So you have you know who you are, what you do. You have a wealth of information, a wealth of content about your business and your service. You also have the ability to take photos, up-to-date videos, all sorts of things. So number 2 is content. And the third thing really is networking, getting the right people to follow you, to like your page, and then for you to interact with them. So make sure you're talking to them when they comment to you, make sure you respond, and really, you know, use it to network. And I'd say those 3 basic rules are correct for every single franchise in the UK.
Now, one thing that franchisors are always rightfully very concerned about is the reputation of the brand. Mm-hmm. Franchisors and franchisees work very hard to build brand and its reputation, because that's something that can be understood and helps all to grow. But when it comes to managing comments, shares, likes, compliments, criticisms, that can be a challenge. So how can a franchisor work with their franchisees to help them manage comments, likes, criticisms in a way that's appropriate for client management, brand building, and building and protecting revenue?
Sure, yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is that it is important to comment on everything and get back to people. You put a lot of work into your brand and into social media sites and the setup and everything to do with your network, then you need to respond. So if someone's taken the time to like or to share or to comment or something, you need to respond as quickly as possible with just a comment that is appropriate for the language that you would use, your brand would use. Secondly, you need to make sure that to enable that, it's much better coming from you. Outsourcing is not something that works particularly well. We all know if we go through to a call center in a faraway land, then they don't have the same understanding as we do, and it's not as authentic as it could be. So you need to be able to speak with your voice. You also need to manage the situation. So make sure, what someone once said to me, that they don't go on Twitter because people just slag them off on Twitter. and the result, the answer is that if people are slagging you off on Twitter, then that's Twitter is the least of your worries. There's obviously something wrong with the service or product or something, or someone somewhere is not doing what they should be. So you need to get that right. To manage your brand reputation is not just social media, it's everything. It's offline and online. So it's making sure that everything that you say and do links with the brand. At Barking Mad, we've just taken on a full-time social media executive to manage our stuff. We also have a contact center. So very quickly you will find, once you start taking advantage of social media, you're going to need that resource. So I guess the last thing I would say is make sure that you've allocated enough resource to it. And by that I also mean management resource. The management need to understand how all these things work. Okay, so they're all new, they're always changing. So make sure that you can lead as managers, and you can lead your network of franchisees, and they can lead their employees and do the best for their customers.
So you're talking about strategy there, and I think strategy is key, as you rightly said. Just by going to social media tools, or any advertising for that matter, it doesn't automatically solve a problem. It doesn't automatically let leads flow through, and you need to lead with confidence. So that's one point I know at Franchise Intelligence we focus on, working with senior managers and directors to coach them and train them to know how to lead the process. So there's other areas where franchisees can benefit in terms of building local business, certainly pay-per-click and the overall content management strategy. When it comes to getting those strategies in place, setting budgets and using tools such as pay-per-click advertising, what's the best way for the franchisor to work with franchisees to get the best return on a local level?
Yeah, it's about getting the franchisees involved. It's about helping them recognize the opportunity that is online for them. So whether it's pay-per-click in Google AdWords, or if it's something advertising within Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, they need to recognize the opportunity. Once they've done that, and part of doing that is communicating to your network. So making sure this is a long-term goal. It's not something that happens overnight. I know it's something that Anna's been working on since she started. It's something that we've been working on for the last 5 or 6 years. It's about communicating to your network the benefits to them and the relevance to their business, and doing it regularly. So having communication with your franchisees that you should have already, and getting social media and PPC and their online marketing campaigns linked to yours of the the whole brand, and making sure they understand what they can do, what they can't do, and how it's going to benefit them to, to all work together. So, maybe at a conference or maybe at your sales meetings or the communication that you have with your network, it's really important to do that. And then once you've done that, perhaps demonstrate. So take some examples, take a handful of forward-thinking franchisees, the ones that you know that it's going to work with, and use those to give an example to demonstrate the benefits and the success that they can have. Then it can come from them as well, and they can talk about it. And before long, you get some momentum to get the whole social media and integrated marketing campaign working.
So really, as you say, leading with confidence, taking a collaborative approach, proving in testing over time, and as you gain results, sharing those with your network to get them on board to work with you. Mm-hmm. So over to you, Anna. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for waiting patiently. We do value your input. Could we just start by you saying who you are and telling us a little bit about your company and what it does and the type of people that join your franchise as franchisees?
Yes, great. Thank you, Nick. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Neville. I'm the founder and chief executive of Kids Lingo. We are a kids language franchise. So we teach little ones from 0, so we run classes right from birth up to age 11, and we focus on French and Spanish. We may expand to other languages, but currently those are the predominant ones within the primary sector and below. So yes, in a nutshell, that's what we do. In terms of our franchisee profile, it's quite varied. It tends to be, in fact, it is 100% female currently. We would love to expand beyond that, but it does appeal more to mums with young children who are looking for the flexibility to fit a great career around the requirements of busy family life. We have quite a few people on board who have been in the teaching profession, either in primary or in the secondary sector, and want to do something more flexible. We have people coming from finance backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, all sorts really. Quite a wide profile.
So clearly you've been running the business for a while, you've been franchising for a while, and you have a number of people that have invested to join you as franchisees, and they're growing their business using your system, which is fantastic to hear. So you came, but we were very grateful when we heard you give us a call and say you wanted us to do some work with yourself. Why did you come to Franchise Intelligence and work with us, and what were you hoping to achieve?
There were two key reasons, really. The first was triggered by our annual conference, and a key focus of that was social media, because there is, I think everyone was very aware that there was so much out there, and really it was about taking advantage of what's out there, setting the strategy from a head office point of view, and as Richard very rightly said, making sure everyone's on board, everyone understands the route that we're going, but has the flexibility at their local level to do stuff that's relevant for them and for their, their particular targets on a local level. So Richard, we started talking. Richard attended our annual conference in September time, which was fantastic and really sort of kick-started a new wave of social media activity from a head office point of view and at a franchisee level as well. And
what process did you go through with Richard, and what have you done as a result?
I think initially it was looking at what we were doing currently, what individual franchisees were doing currently, and actually putting together a much stronger framework. And I'll probably be echoing quite a few of the things that Richard talked about earlier in terms of the 3 steps, in terms of the setup, in terms of the content and share, because that's exactly what we have been doing. And it was very quick to implement, and everyone was very receptive to it. But I was very keen to have that framework, but we sort of say it's flexibility within the framework. So we can sort of set a structure, but then people can then have flexibility within that to do things at their local level, which was really, it was a really good kickstart to it all. And there are a lot of our franchisees now who feel much more confident with social media, because when people come to us, some are very social media savvy, and when I say social media for us, it is predominantly Facebook and Twitter that are the main ones for us. But some were incredibly savvy, already got running groups, all sorts on Facebook and beyond. And some hardly ever touched it, some had never even used it at all. So we are taking our franchisees on a journey.
Okay, great. So you've got a different mix of people, some low in confidence, some high in confidence, and in fact, some franchisors would say that the ones high in confidence might be more difficult to lead than those that are struggling a bit because they think that they know it already. So, but you've got to lead, as you rightly said. You've got to put your system in place, and you've got to have everybody follow it with a reasonable level of understanding and competence. What steps have you put in place, and how have you managed that process for the benefit of all in your franchise and brand?
A key part of it really is the training. We have a 2-day training program when new franchisees come on board, and really over a quarter, if not more now, is spent on marketing, and a great part of the marketing is about social media. So right from the beginning, we set the expectations. You know, we are saying to people, you need to be active in these channels. It isn't just an option, it is compulsory, because without those you are missing out on huge amounts of opportunities, huge amounts of potential growth. So you know, however nervous somebody feels, we have to offer them that reassurance and support that this is something that they have to be doing. So we set that right at the beginning, so we set that expectation. We take them through lots of examples at the training. We set everything up for them, so they don't have to do that bit themselves. So we set up the pages, we set up all the correct bits behind the scenes, and then it really is then about giving them those steps they need to go through. And for some, it is smaller steps at a time. For others, it is bigger steps at a time because they get it quicker or they're more confident to start off with. We do a lot of social media activity at head office level. So at a basic level, our franchisees can literally just share that on their own pages. So even without very little effort on their part, they can do that. Then the next level really is then to take it and then generating their own content. And that can be pictures of their classes, it can be the kids holding up their certificates they've gained in the classes, it can be videos of nursery classes, whatever it is. That's the stuff that becomes more powerful. And I think Richard mentioned that earlier on, and that's something he definitely said to me in the early days, is there's nothing like some great photographs, some great videos of kids actively involved in these classes, because that's what engages people. That's what's going to make mums, make dads think, oh, I want my little one to go along to that, or isn't that great? Or a school think, wow, I'd love that sort of atmosphere in my school created in the class. So those things are really important. And the strength of the network is that those things can then be shared by other members as well. So there's that strength which comes from 33 franchisees now, being able to share all of that content, because the picture just gets bigger and bigger.
Now there's a number of things that you brought in there, and they're really important. And I think that firstly, there's things about management, because obviously your clubs are about children learning language, and you've mentioned photos, so there are protocols to be understood there, obviously. So there's management to put in place, permissions, I would imagine. But ultimately, you've spoken about management. You've spoken about sharing content. You've shared about using content in a way that grows information and aspiration to be involved in what your franchisees do on a parental and school level and child level, which is great. Now, what about the key focus, which is helping your franchisees make more money through all of this? How do you know that they're making more money through the use of social media? What have you put in place, and how are you measuring what they're achieving?
It's a good question. I mean, there are probably several elements to it. On a very basic level, many of our franchisees will be doing boost posts and things along those lines in terms of directly recruiting customers to their classes, which is incredibly easy to see straight away, because you are having comments below saying, oh yes, I'd like to come, yes, can I put my child in, all of those types of things. And we find that our customer profile, people are just using social media to communicate all the time with our franchisees. They're not emailing them, they're not phoning them, they're not texting them. They are Facebook messaging them, and they're commenting on the posts. So immediately it's very transparent about the impact of any of the posts or the boost posts or even the advertising that people are doing. And again, I am predominantly talking about Facebook, as that is really, from a consumer point of view, that is really the strongest one for us. And then at a holistic level, I can obviously keep an eye on what is going on on everybody's sites, so that I can see the levels of interaction, the levels of engagement, and obviously what our customers are saying. Reviews are really important for us as well, and we encourage our customers as much as possible to leave those reviews on our individual franchisee pages. And again, those are great things to share in order to encourage more business, and also to encourage more people to sign up to the franchise as well.
So what you're saying is, with the right strategy in place, the right content, the right engagement, the right use of the tool, you're actually recruiting your clients in order to be your unpaid marketers, to share great news about their experiences and influence their contacts, and in that way helping people to become franchisees in their own right. So you're encouraging local trade, you're helping encourage other people to join your network as well. So, and you're seeing this sort of level of satisfaction even through customer comments in an open source Facebook place. So lots of intelligence there, as well as management and clear benefits in terms of new members coming in. Now, Richard, I'm going to bring you back in here because Ben Thompson, who is the head of communications at Premier Sports, has brought in a question about LinkedIn.
Okay.
So he said, okay, let's have a look. Attracting new franchisees through LinkedIn. Any tips on that for Ben? He's heard quite a bit about Twitter and Facebook. What about tips for LinkedIn use?
Okay. Well, I go back to where I started on whether LinkedIn is, presumably I'll have to assume that you've decided that LinkedIn is one of the best ways for you to recruit, one of the best social media sites. I have used LinkedIn and we have recruited through LinkedIn, but I found that LinkedIn is quite expensive, certainly if you look in comparison to Facebook, for example. So first of all, I would double check that LinkedIn is the right platform for you, even if you're B2B. A lot of people think that Facebook, for example, is just a B2C thing. It's not. It's B2B as well. We're all people. We're all purchasing. Potential franchisees are on Facebook. And Facebook is the biggest and the strongest in the UK. But going back to LinkedIn, it doesn't have the as granular an advertising platform as Facebook. Or Google or a number of others, but it is really LinkedIn. It is all about your community, and I think the tips for you can just advertise. You can put an advertisement there, but actually it's a very expensive way of doing it. I would use groups, LinkedIn groups that are appropriate for your audience, and also use a technique of it's a bit tricky to make sure you're not spamming people, but you want to be able to reach out to potential franchisees or potential customers via LinkedIn by sending in-mails. So those are a couple of ways of doing it. There are all sorts of different ways in LinkedIn, but I think LinkedIn's got to catch up with the likes of Facebook. One other way in LinkedIn to create a community is to make sure that you post. There's a platform there where you can publish posts, and it's not just an update. It's like a blog post, and you can put good articles in there, well-structured, well-written articles that appeal to your audience. That is another very good way to use LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you for that. So I would agree with you there that key in all these platforms, but particularly LinkedIn, which doesn't have a very sort of a good sophisticated pay-per-click model, is to focus on the people with the right profile for your business. And I would also suggest, if you write a white paper that's relevant to them, think about them and what's relevant to them rather than just you and what's relevant to you. So if you write a paper that might be helpful for their business, their work, you could send it to them in an email and say, look, I'm reaching out to you. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this white paper. that can engage them, it can gauge their interest, it can create the relationship and trust. The introduction of the franchise may come along a little bit later, and you're building on something that's of mutual interest, rather than just treating them as a target for your own purposes. So I think that's really important. And Ben has said thank you very much for that answer, Richard. So you're very welcome, Ben.
Okay.
So we've shot to the end of our half hour. So I'm just going to do a little bit of rounding up now. So Anna, just thinking about yourself, your franchisees, growing revenue on a local level with franchisees. What plans have you got in the pipeline to help franchisees grow their business using social as a next step?
One of the key points which Richard brought up as well is just keeping up to date with everything, because things change. There are new models. There's the new things like the lead generation ads on Facebook. So really, it's making sure to head office level that we are up to date with things like that, and make sure that we can then disseminate that information and examples and everything like that to the network, which we do through a number of sort of webinars. We have a Facebook group we communicate through all the time, the annual conference again, which will be coming up later this year, all of those different mechanics to just make sure we're keeping people up to speed, and also keep reminding them of the other things as well, because if people aren't, as I talked about earlier, those who aren't quite so confident, it is a case of constantly holding their hand and reminders and pushing them along that path. But definitely keeping up to speed with the new developments is critical.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Richard, you've been working with Anna, and we're very pleased to have been doing that, and it's great to hear that the gains that we've been able to help you achieve, Anna, on a step-by-step process. If there are any other franchisors seeking to advance their business through social, either in finding the right people to bring into their network, or to help their franchisees grow their revenue on a local level, Richard, what are the next best steps that we can provide them with, or you can provide them with regards to the service provision you can bring? And how should they get hold of that?
Sure, yeah. I think that I wanted sort of my plea, my interest, what I'm desperate to improve is in the UK franchise industry, is to take more advantage of what social media can offer the brands that we have. And my advice would be to get social media, get an understanding of social media. So talk to us, learn a bit more about what it can do, the potential for it, and then build it into your strategy. So you have an offline strategy for your business. You have a marketing strategy within that. So where does social media fit, and what resource are you putting towards it? And that's the kind of conversations that I'd like to be having with you to help you determine the best way forward. So get in touch. You can reach us, reach me, Richard at franchiseintelligence.co.uk, or on Twitter at Richard R. Dancy. D-A-N-C-Y, or just generally get in touch with Franchise Intelligence and ask questions. That's the best way. Look forward to helping you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Yes, so there's the website as well, franchiseintelligence.co.uk. And just to let you know, Anna, franchisor Jolly Hockey Tots, has said she'd love to get in contact with you and have a chat with you, and how can she do that? So I'm sure if you contact us, we can get you both together to have a chat. Obviously working in a similar market with children, so there could be some synergies there, so thank you very much for contacting us with that. So we've come to the end of our half hour, as I've said. In fact, we've slightly overshot. Thank you very much for everyone that has joined us. Thank you to Richard and Anna for your participation. Just finally, Richard and Anna, a last comment in terms of what you would encourage people to do as a next step. Anna?
Franchisors as the next step.
Yes, indeed. Franchisors for their franchisees.
Well, one would be talking to you guys. I would strongly recommend. It's had a fundamental impact on the business, and I'm not just saying that, it is absolutely true. I think the first thing is making sure you yourself are familiar with everything and are confident in it, because you can't possibly hope to set your strategy or inform others if you yourself don't feel you are 100% up to speed on it.
Okay, thank you for that. And Richard, a final goodbye?
Yeah, I would just say it's the biggest thing that's happened to businesses in a long time at the opportunity of social media. So we look forward to speaking to you.
Okay, yes, and once again, thank you very much for joining us. We will be at up-and-coming exhibitions. We will be at British Franchise Association events, conference, and you can catch up with us on our social media channels or through Mr. Call. Thank you for joining us. We wish you a great day, and we hope to speak to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.